Welcome to Don't Forget to Breathe. I'm your host, Bruce Barker. This is part 3 of my conversation with Marnie as she shares what life has been like since Joey's death in 2022. The weight of grief, the struggles, and the ways she's learned to keep going while holding on to her daughter's memory. Unlike the first 2 episodes, we recorded this conversation in a much quieter place. In fact, we recorded in Marnie's home. Before we started, she gave me a tour of their home, and it's the home where Joey lived and where Joey died. She also invited me into Joey's bedroom, a room that looks the same as it did the last time Joey slept there. I was so honored to be there and get a glimpse inside this sacred space with Joey's art and life all over the walls. It was a very moving experience. So now I invite you to lean in and hear Marnie's honest and heartfelt story. Okay, Marnie, so the first 2 episodes, you described Joey. You introduced us to her, and especially then getting into the last episode when she died. And so now the story turns to you to share whatever you're comfortable sharing about life since and what that's been like for you, even starting after the funeral, the first few days, the first few months, whatever it is, how it was for you. So I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so I probably didn't go back to work until 3 months later, and it was super part-time. I just thought I needed to kind of get out there, and I was afraid that maybe what those conversations were going to be like. But if you've lived through grief, friends aren't going to come up to you and ask necessarily how you're doing, because they know. They're not going to say that. Nice to see you again. It might be something like that. But so that didn't happen. I think one person that knew Joey was sick actually said, "Hey, how is your daughter feeling better?" And I had to just shake my head and close my eyes. And then he knew that she was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And of course he said sorry, but I was like, whoa, I had no words. I thought if I said words that I would cry, and I wasn't going to do that in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of a fog, right? If I had to say it out loud to anybody, then it was real.
Right.
If I said that out loud. So I didn't go to Grief Share. We started talking to people for a little while, but I just was really shut off to what I wanted to say to people and how I wanted to interact. It was going to be my terms, and the rest of the family, I wanted somebody to do it with me. I was so afraid of being alone, but then I wanted to be alone.
So you said you did therapy. When did you do that? How soon after?
Maybe 5 months. And it was somebody that I had known before, and she was only doing Zoom because of 2020 and everything.
Right.
So I would just, go in the closet with my phone, and I barely remember that. That seems like years ago.
Did you do it because that was something you wanted to do, or was it people encouraging you?
It was people encouraging me,
yeah.
Right? I think everyone was worried. What was I going to do? And I was not feeling good. It was almost instant as soon as she was gone. I had back problems, and I had been seeing somebody since probably 2015, just like x-rays. It takes a long time to have a diagnosis, or a long time to get anything going and figured out. And so it was off and on since 2015. And then after she passed, I was instantly in like the worst spot. And I don't know if it just kind of caught up with me, or grief just took over, and my body was just giving out. And I think my family was worried about that, right? And they were they didn't want me to just sit around. And with my back, all of a sudden I couldn't. And the busier I kept, the better I felt.
Mm-hmm.
I had to keep going until I was just physically exhausted, and then that's the only way I could sit still.
So that, and I know I may have covered this in previous episodes, but I know in some of the support groups that I facilitate, we've talked about the physical toll that grief can have on you. And And yours was instantaneous to this high level. How's the physical toll been on you since?
I had 3 back surgeries. I had fusion from L4 to S1. And then I had, I've had 3 of them. So there was multiple. It was awful. And with that, I'm now living in her room still. And I'm laying in her bed, sick, taking meds, and having somebody help me get up and take care of myself and bathe and all these things that it's like the weirdest. When I'm thinking about it right now, it's weird. But I almost like became her in the weirdest way, right? Because now I'm dependent on other people to not necessarily keep me alive, right? But they were taking care of me where I couldn't take care of myself.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't move after my back surgery. And I would have to have my husband come in and give me meds in the middle of the night or every 4 hours, or it was a lot of that. And the kids would have to come over to the house and help me any number of things, right? So once I had that alone time and now I was like not working, I really just wanted to be alone. And I was depressed. I was depressed right as soon as she was gone. But now I don't want to say done with life, but I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to live this life anymore. And if that meant that I didn't want to live without her, or I didn't want to feel the pain, or I didn't want to be physically sick, I don't know, but I was just tired. And I still feel like that. I'm tired of trying to be okay because I'm not okay. And I think the only person in the world to me that feels like they understand how I feel is my mom, because she lost me the day that I lost Joey. I'm never going to be that person again.
Oh.
I'm not. So when I talk to her about things, she's instantly saddened and can relate and can not make me feel better, but I just know that she knows. She knows. She lost her daughter too. Like it's just it's the same kind of feeling. And I know there's people out there for me, but they don't understand. They don't.
Did you feel that the therapy, and I'll speak for myself, it seemed early on, it's a fog. I don't really remember it. And I think I was doing it because I thought that's what you're supposed to do. It was superficial for me. I think that early it was ineffective. Do you feel like it was just kind of going through the motions, like doing, but not that effective early on? Because you went into, as you said, you went into the physical toll and and depression and, everything that's falls into that. Yeah. Did you feel like the therapy didn't really, like it really didn't do anything?
No, it didn't. I didn't feel like I was releasing it because I don't think that my therapist, at least she didn't share, and she's not a grief therapist.
Right.
So there wasn't that connection. So now when I finally decided to go to Grief Share, it was rough probably the first month. It was hard. And I don't know, I thought about not going back because I didn't want anyone to see me like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was this connection that I have never in my life felt ever, as far as like connecting with somebody and being a part of something. And nobody wants to be a part of this group, right?
Oh, no.
We don't.
No.
Especially parents that lost children, not even just grief group.
Yeah.
But we have something in common, and it feels like I finally met my people, my group of friends and people that just get it.
Yeah.
And I think that for me is what kind of made me start, I guess, feeling better, right? So physically, I was turning around. I mean, I had just had my last surgery in January. So in the healing process, May, June, I was feeling a little bit better. And I think releasing my feelings to other people, right, in this group, going to church more often, all of the above. And I started feeling better. I mean, I've kind of had a little bit of a back pedal, but I think that's just because I have more things that need to be fixed on my back. And you get to a point where I'm like, I don't know. What do I really want? I want to be there for my kids. I have a grandbaby that's coming any day. And I guess I just want to make everybody proud, and I want to feel physically good. And I don't know if that's going to happen.
Are you feeling physically better?
I was.
Yeah.
The last couple of weeks, I've kind of, it's almost, okay, here's the thing. It's almost like Joey was feeling good, right? And she was, when we got her back home, and she was, we had doctor's appointments and stuff, but then once she got that, you're not going to get a heart transplant,
Mm-hmm.
and then it switched. I feel like I had that switch this last week. I got some MRIs just done, and there's problems again. So I just got this switch where they're like, oh, well, you have some options. You can redo the whole back surgery where they can take out everything and then put all new stuff in, and we have to go up and fuse higher. Or we can go and we can add on, but it's going to be heavy, and it's going to, because we have to fuse another level, and it's going to be heavier on your muscles in the long run. Or you can just keep living your life the way you do and have numb legs and have pain and see where that gets you. And I, in the last 2 days, I've just been in a dark place. Just like, what do I do? What would Joey want me to do? Does she want me to go through that all over again? Because it was awful. Or, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the or is. But I think doing my connection with other people and talking, it makes me feel better,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And all of this is from the physical toll that grief has taken on on your body.
Yep. I mean, because I've had some fantastic things that have happened in the last 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 daughters get married. I have had, countless amounts of just people surrounding me with love, and we all get together for Joey's birthdays at the gravesite. And it's so important to me to know that she, still knowing people still coming up and saying what a difference she made, right? In other kids' lives, or in my family's lives, or it's hard. It's so hard to explain, because I am lucky to have had what I had.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, talking to other people, I got closure. I think we were just talking about your daughter, when you woke up that next day thinking that, being in a fog, and
Mm-hmm.
hey, I thought it was not real. Oh no, I knew. I knew because I knew it before it happened. So I'm lucky that way. I'm lucky that she's had a story that made sense, and that we talked about, and when I see her sisters, and when they have jokes, or I relive those. So I don't know why I'm sad. I guess it's because it's gone, right? I mean, because her story's gone. It's over. Her story's over. And there's something that I don't want that to be real. And so interacting with everybody, I feel like I just always am wearing a mask, and I don't,
Oh yeah.
that like, I'm okay. And hey, I love you guys. And hey, everything's great. And yeah, we're talking about great times. Is it? I mean, it was.
What I can share is Joey's story is, as I can see through the podcast, being heard in different parts of the world. They're getting to know Joey, and, through your eyes, and you took the courage and able to share all of that. So her story keeps going, but I understand that there are no new chapters.
Mm-hmm.
And the same as with my daughter, no new chapters. And so now we grieve the future of what's not there, what's not going to happen. And that's, for me, again, I just say, and for me, it took a very long time and a lot of work to let the healing continue to where I am now. I am healed, but the scars are still there. The scars are visible. I am not the same as I was, nor will I ever be, but there's healing that's taken place in my life. And I can see from our conversations over a fairly lengthy amount of time, your healing that you don't see, but that I can see, because I can see how you were when I first met you and even where you are now. Now, granted, that's not a linear path, just like you said, these last couple of days. So there are going to certainly be those times. And there are times that I, have some days. I used to let those days take me over, whether it's like Kristen's birthday or the anniversary of the day she died, until with my healing and with the things that I have learned was to be very intentional about those days, and that I didn't let the day rule me. I had a plan. I took over the day. But honestly, that didn't happen until 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And Kristen died 19 years ago. So I'm not saying like, hey, just wait till next year. I'm not saying that at all. It took a long time and it was very slow. But our bodies physically heal faster than our grief, than our hearts, basically, in my opinion. So it took a long time and a lot of work to be able to get to the point. And again, as we talked about with at the beginning of this season with taking 3 years off, I was doing a lot of work during that time and putting a lot of these things into practice so that I could be in a better place. So there was a lot of work, and healing. I believe healing can take place just from my own experience, but it is not a healing without scars. It is not a healing that, oh, there you are, you're back. That your friends would say, like, there's the old Bruce. Oh, there's the old Marnie. No, those people are gone. Yeah. Those lives, those hearts, that was shattered, but they can come back together, and but there's still going to be scars, and we heal and learn from the scars. But physical toll on me as well. Things instantly changed. And listening to you, I think that for me, what was relating is that it was kind of superficial. Like, I'm doing it. Like, okay, everybody, I'm doing therapy, but I can't even remember what it was now. And and it's almost like going through the motions. Now, that's not to say that that's going to be the same for everyone. I hope that, listeners find a therapist that works for them and can actually start healing sooner, because we know everyone's story is different and unique.
Yeah.
So is that healing journey as well as the grief journey.
Yeah. It's the relatability. So I think finding a therapist and they don't have to have experienced the same kind of grief, but if there was a therapist that has lost a child, that's where I feel like I could really let it all, just let it out and have an understanding.
Yeah.
When you're talking to somebody and they don't understand what you're saying, as the same as you don't understand how I feel.
Right.
There's the problem. You don't understand how I feel. And so no matter how much talking I'm going to do, you're still not going to understand how I feel, right? Unless you've felt it before.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, even though all of these people are willing to listen to me, it's different when I'm with my grief group, and it is a little bit different when I talk to my mom.
Mm-hmm. And do you find healing there, even though like a grief group and your mom are not licensed therapists? We talk about licensed therapists. Do you find healing in that? Do you find help in that?
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, I think the past 8 months being at the grief group, 7 months, has done a lot for me, has changed me a lot. Doing things where people that know me are like, are you doing that? Like, are you sure? You're helping out? You're doing that? Or you're doing a podcast? I'm like, Yeah, isn't that weird? I would never have done that. I'm such a shy person. I'm so super reserved. If you knew me, you'd go, no, you're not doing that. I don't think so. But I am. And I'm pushing myself because I want something. I want, I don't want what I'm doing. I don't want the life that I'm living. And I don't want anybody to take that the wrong way as far as like my family.
Mm-hmm.
But life's moved on for everybody. Marriages and houses and kids, and it's moved on. And it should. And that's beautiful, but it's not doing that for me. Mine's, like we had talked about, I'm just stuck. I'm stuck in well, I should have, or what if I did this? Or, I still do that, even though it was the way it was at the end. I still do that. I do that since day one. I do that. Could I have made a difference? Probably not. Probably not. Of course not. I couldn't have. But you think that. As a parent, you think that. If anything, if your kids are sad or, or you can help them, right? I mean, that's what you do. I'm going to be hard on myself like that probably forever. But it's how I react to that feeling and what that does. This is a hard episode for me because this is my story. And mine doesn't feel as easy to tell as Joey's did because I don't know how to communicate what it feels like to be me other than just the basic, like I don't feel good. It's not a good place, and saying that sometimes means I'm not in a good place. It doesn't mean I don't have good things.
Right.
So I'm going to be forever different. I don't know.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
are. I am. We all are. The same as how you said you feel when you're in that group, the grief group, the support group. If you can put yourself in that space, that's kind of where you are right now. You just can't see who you're talking to. But they all get it. The ones that listen to this podcast, and I've had people ask me, when they find out I have a podcast, and I go, "Oh, really? What is it?" And I'm like, "This is not a feel-good, funny, tell stories, whatever kind of podcast. This is for a special group."
Mm-hmm.
And now, granted, I want to normalize the conversation around grief. I've said it 100 times, but the people that you're talking to get it. So that there's things you don't necessarily have to explain because they get it. So whatever those feelings that you're feeling, those days that you're feeling better physically, or as I've seen changes in you and other people are going, "Really, you're doing that?" And again, it's not linear. So there's going to be times of sliding back, and everyone listening gets it because it's happened and happens to everyone. All of us, the parents who have had that loss, everybody's going to get it.
Yeah. I said this early on to you, probably the first grief group I had, maybe the second. And I had told you that I was lucky that Joey had wanted to be called something different, right? She was born with another name. And for 20 years, we called her that other name. And then at the end, maybe the last 8 months, she woke up from one of her last surgeries and just felt like a different person, right? She just was like, I don't feel like that person anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay. But, she's like, I want you to call me Joey. And the sisters bought in way sooner than I did. And I was like, I'll just call you Joey. Okay. And once they started doing it, it just caught on because they had mentioned, hey, this makes her happy. We see her smiling when we call her that. She's so happy. And I'm like, all right, I mean, sure. So when she was planning her funeral, she said, "Mom, I want that to be on my headstone. I want Joey to be on my headstone. Big, loud. That's who I am." I'm like, all right. Yeah, I mean, it's yours. And I told you early on that I thought that was, she did me a favor because when I go visit her and I walk up, I see Joey and I'm like, oh yeah. So I never am looking at the name that I gave birth to her with on her headstone. And so I'm not connecting it in my brain anymore. So I thought that was doing me a favor, but I shared with you that it's not doing me a favor. That's not it. She was somebody else. There are so many dissociation with what I remember and what she gave to me to choose to remember, and how that just plays this weird, like two different people. Like we've said, she looked like a different person at the end. I mean, I gave you a tour of my house. Like she definitely had a change. And so there's sometimes I don't believe that it's real. Maybe she's out living her best life in Nebraska, going to college. Maybe she just doesn't want to call me anymore. I don't know. I mean, so I can play that game with myself all the time and go to the cemetery and see Joey. What does that really mean? See, so I told you that it was a good thing. Yeah. I mean, she had the most giving heart. I mean, we could go on for days and I could tell you stories about who she touched. I wanted to mention this earlier. She called her cardiologist on her last day, maybe 5 hours before she passed, so that she could tell him thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. You changed my life. You helped me. You were my friend. You were so nice. And I could only imagine what that did to him that day. She knew him since she was 3.
Yeah.
That one. And she had a group with the hospital that she was involved in for 8 years. And then once she passed, the group was done, over, gone. And it's just wild that the group wasn't gone because they weren't doing the group. It was because they couldn't handle the fact that they lost somebody. And those are big, big. So those are the things I want to remember. Those are the things I'm going to choose to remember. And that's why I like talking about her to people that don't know her.
And not talking about you and how you're feeling.
Yep. Because I don't know if I can answer that without it feeling raw and not uncomfortable, but just, I think I would fall apart. And then I don't know what would happen. You know that feeling when you start crying, and then maybe what happens if you can never stop? And I know parents have felt this way. I know anybody that's gone through grief has felt, oh man, I'm going to start crying and I'll never stop. Days and days and days. I don't know. What's that going to look like? And I haven't really had that yet. In 3.5 years, I haven't had that, because that is so scary. And then maybe it's real. I'm not ready for that.
You mentioned earlier, because I kind of want to circle back, that you stayed in her room, almost like the roles had changed, and you were in her room being cared for. And, as you mentioned, you gave me a tour of your house and her room, and that it's basically just how she left it.
Yeah.
Right. So are you still there?
Yep. Still living in there. It almost feels like I'm torturing myself. Yeah. That I deserve it. That I deserve to feel shitty. I deserve to lay in there every night. And so I tell everyone it's comforting. I tell everyone I want to go in there and I want to sleep in there because it's comforting. But I think it's not comforting. It's traumatic. It's I lay there and I look around her room and I see all of her stuff. She has a mirror on a little vanity, and if you sit up in bed, you look right at yourself, and that's hard. I lay in there and I think of all the ways I let myself down, let her down. I don't know. But for some reason I keep going back for more. I do it every night, and then I wake up, and as soon as I get out, I feel okay. but then the night dread's on or the afternoon, and then maybe knowing that I'm going to go back in there. I don't know. And then I do it again. And I can just imagine her feeling scared, laying in there. I don't have to do that. So there's healing to be done, but I'm afraid to do it. I'm afraid that if I'm not feeling those things anymore, then I'm just not going to feel anything at all. So I'd rather feel really crappy than maybe feel anything else. Feeling crappy is easy. Feeling mad is easy. Feeling numb, easy. Anything else? I don't know. Because I put so much into just being a mom. I've literally been a mom for 40 years, and I have put my everything into that. So feeling that I let any of my kids down, that's an awful feeling. And I thought that I was going to have to care for her for the rest of her life. So now I have to care for myself. That sounds stupid. I don't want to do that. I don't want to care about myself. That feels way too hard. I'd rather take care of 5 kids than take care of myself. You know what I mean? So I'm going to just lay in the yuck until I can't do that anymore and then have to do something else, I guess.
So you mentioned you've got a grandbaby on the way any day now.
Yep. Probably this weekend.
You're involved in the baby's care like every day, right?
Yep. As soon as she goes back to work, which will probably be the end of December, 1st of January, full time, 7 to 5, 7 to 4, whatever. It's going to be me. And of course, my mom, that's going to be the best thing. And I'm nervous. Because I want to be the best I can be. There's a lot. I've had a lot of, maybe that's why I haven't felt so good this last week, but I've had a lot of emotions of, not wanting to stay on my path of taking care of myself and taking care of this grandbaby, which I've wanted to do since the kids were teenagers. I was like, oh, I can't wait. Someday you guys are going to want me to, you're going to want to have kids and you're going to want me to take care of them and you're going to want to go back to work and then it'll just be me. How exciting that felt for me. And now I'm at the point in my life that that's something I can do, but I want to do it 100%.
Right. Well, on this tour, you did show me that there is a baby's room for this baby to be here, fully decorated. Very cool, by the way. So I'm going to ask you a question. What happens then? The baby's here and you're taking care of the baby. Is that something that you've been feeling the anxious that you've been feeling these last few days is because your role's about to change again? You're not taking care of yourself. You're not in the muck, as you mentioned, that you're being pulled out because now you've got a new role.
Yeah.
And when I asked you that question, when I mentioned, listeners obviously couldn't see, but when I asked you that question about the new baby, then there's this, you went from a teary face to a giant smile instantaneously.
Yeah. I mean, if you could say one thing that I've always wanted, and it was to be a stay-at-home mom. I didn't get to do that. I had to always work. I was a single mom for years and years and years. And when I wasn't, two-income family, and we had to just work it out and figure it out. And now I get the opportunity to do that. And my kids know that I'm going to be how safe, right? Because I am a safe place and how much it means to me. And when you want something so bad, you're going to be good at it. When it's something you choose as opposed to a job, it's not a job for me. It's a life for me, right? And I know that nothing ever will replace Joey, but to have one of my daughters let me be a part of that with them is mind blowing. It changes how my brain thinks about myself, and maybe I was a failure. Maybe I didn't do what I needed to do for Joey. I mean, like in my mind, it failed, but my kids are like, you didn't. You were what you needed to be, and now we're gonna, let you care for our baby. I think it's because I've known for 8 months, but I have never been so excited about anything in my whole life.
Mm.
I am so excited, and I'm excited to see this daughter as a mom. She's going to be an amazing mom, and I'm just so excited to see that.
And as I believe and as I see on your face, there can be joy and grief at the same time.
Yeah. I would have said no, but you just proved me wrong on that one, because I was like,
I can see it.
yeah.
And that, in my, again, non-professional opinion, is part of that healing journey, to find those moments. And like you've said, over the last month of what the last 8 months of what you've seen coming in this desire to have this role that you're going to have, was joy in the midst of some terrible grief, in the midst of some terrible physical pain and changes that took place in your body. But there was joy hanging out there at the same time. But then seeing it on your face, literally, instantaneously, seconds after a look of sadness and despair, joy in the midst of grief.
Yeah.
Part of the healing journey, again, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's wild how there's beginnings and endings, and beginnings are scary, right? Endings are sad, and it's the middle that counts the most. I'm really looking forward to this middle part, of just being present and living life. And I mean, I say that, and it's okay for me to go to the muck at night for right now.
Mm-hmm. It's okay.
And then be excited in the morning, because I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not in there. I don't have to be in there all day.
It's okay to not be okay. And that is actually a title of a book. Highly recommend. But it's just a truest statement that it's okay to not be okay. And there's so much of the time as grieving parents that we're just not okay. And that's okay. And we find that bond and that safety in our groups, that we know it's okay to not be okay. Because it's the outside where I think we put the pressure, at least for me, you put the pressure on yourself to go, oh, I got to pretend I'm okay. Because it's not okay to not be okay with all these other people. Again, that just may be a particular situation that we're in, or an activity or a group or a function or whatever. But in our group, it's very clear that we all understand it's okay to not be okay, because there's going to be days, like you've just said, of what you've experienced the last couple of days. But tomorrow and the next day, with this new baby here, you'll be in a different place.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean you're not going to step back into the muck or whatever, because again, not linear. And it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to be okay.
It gives me a purpose. I want to feel needed, and I know she needs me. So it's an important thing for me. And I'm going to continue on working, doing my grief groups, going to church, talking about it. Maybe I'll cry one day, and maybe I'll stop, and maybe I'll cry for a while.
Yeah. But you're talking about it, and you didn't before. You're doing it.
Thank you.
Okay. That was powerful. That concludes this 3-part conversation with Marnie, sharing the story of her daughter, Joey, the love they shared, the struggles they faced, and the heartbreak of her death, and Marnie's ongoing journey of grief that she's just shared with you. I want to thank Marnie for her courage, her openness, and willingness to let us into such sacred parts of her life. And I want to thank you, the listeners, for walking alongside us through these episodes. If something you heard resonated with you and you'd like to share it with Marnie, please reach out to me by email. She has graciously said she is open to connecting, and I'll provide that email information after the show. And as always, thank you for listening. Be gentle with yourself and take care. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. I'm not a licensed professional, just a parent who's experienced unimaginable loss. This isn't meant to replace help from a therapist, doctor, or other mental health professional. If you're struggling, please reach out to someone qualified. You're not alone. And my contact email is bruce.barker61@yahoo.com. That's BRUCE.BARKER61@yahoo.com.